Hi, I'm Phil Sandner with Easy Spa Parts. I recently watched a few spa leak repairs using an epoxy patch done by one of the best technicians in the country, Salvador Mion. His assistant Robbie was there to help with some of the steps that required a second person. This video shows the key steps that they performed. As you might imagine, this video can't show all of the steps for every type of leak repair. But in my 18 years at Easy Spa Parts, I'm constantly amazed at how creative and resourceful many of you are when it comes to fixing spas. I borrowed a few pictures from other jobs to help tell the story, so you might notice some different photos that seem out of place. Most of us notice a wet area at the base of a spa that signals something is amiss or the water level keeps dropping. Start looking in the equipment area for a leaky pump, a gate valve, or some other piece of equipment that might be the culprit. Turn on each large jet pump to high speed and watch for dripping anywhere in that equipment area. Identify its exact location and call us for advice on how to proceed. If the spa is losing 1.5 inches a week or less of water and the equipment area is dry, try using a product called Fix-A-Leak first. It can save you time and money. On spas that have removable sides, you can take off one panel at a time to look for signs of moisture. Sometimes you'll see a wet section of the protective paper. If you don't see any wet sections there, you might need to use a wooden dowel to poke through the paper and look for moisture at the end of the dowel as an indication of where to start digging. Adding blue dye to the water is one way to speed up the process. Using 2 bottles makes the search even easier. Run the tub normally overnight and keep the spa heating. In this video, we had to lift the spa on its side to repair a leak at the base of the hot tub. An empty spa can weigh 400 to 800 pounds when empty. With saturated foam, it can be even more. Sometimes 2 people can lift the smaller spas. Don't lift more than your body can handle or you'll damage your back. Now with a straight back and bent knees, begin the lift. Get your knees under the spa as soon as possible while keeping your body close to the cabinet. Then complete the lift. Just to be safe, try and have 4 strong people lift the larger spas. On some spas, you might find a sheet of black plastic stapled to the perimeter of the base. Using a claw hammer or a small crowbar, begin pulling the sheet away from the spa. When you have enough room to grab the sheet, switch to a pair of large channel locks and continue pulling the sheet back. If you used blue dye, you're looking for blue foam and or wet foam. If you're lucky, you'll see a blue spot or an obviously wet, warm patch of foam. It's relatively easy to begin digging through the foam that's visible. Now you can begin digging by hand so you can get a general sense of the leak location. The foam closest to the shell and the plumbing is a higher density than the rest of the foam that fills the spa cabinet, so you'll want to use Sal's special tools to continue digging. First, he took the longest screwdriver he could buy and put a 90-degree bend towards the end. Be sure to sand or grind the blade so it's blunt, not sharp. We don't want to poke a hole in anything while we dig around. Second, he uses a regular flathead screwdriver, again sanding or grinding the end to make it blunt. Third, he has a long pair of needle nose pliers to grab small pieces of foam or debris in narrow spaces his hand won't fit. And last, he uses a telescoping automotive inspection mirror to look in areas he couldn't ordinarily see. As you begin to dig through the foam by hand, you'll begin to narrow down the area where the leak is evident. When you feel it's appropriate, begin digging with the straight screwdriver.
Yeah. Oh,
As you get closer to the leak, using the bent screwdriver is more helpful. This process is more art than science, so proceed by digging as you see fit. When you're sure you found the source of the leak, the bent screwdriver is the tool of choice. If possible, you need to completely remove about 3/4 of an inch of foam on either side of the leaking joint. In this photo, we had already applied the epoxy, so just ignore that white patch. The important thing is to use the mirror and inspect hard to reach areas on the back of the joint. Now with a strip of sandpaper, sand the area completely, front and back, so you can remove the foam and get to the raw plastic fittings or hose. Once again, the telescoping automotive mirror is a must to see behind the fitting and the plumbing to ensure that all of the foam is gone. If possible, clean the area with a leaf blower before proceeding. In order to use the two-part plastic epoxy effectively, the area must be completely dry. Using a paper towel, wipe around the area to ensure there is no moisture where the epoxy is going to be laid down. Inspect the area again with the mirror to make sure there is no moisture. When you're convinced the area is completely clean and dry, wipe it down with isopropyl alcohol. Now we're ready to apply the epoxy. We've been successfully providing our DevCon Industrial two-part plastic welder kit for over 20 years. It's more expensive than other epoxies at the hardware store, including DevCon's own retail formulation. But our experience shows it's the best, strongest plastic epoxy for the job. Saving a few bucks now using a different epoxy isn't worth having to redo the job again in a year or two. If your kit came with mixing nozzles, begin to apply a bead of epoxy around the leaky joint. Next, use gloved hands to smooth the epoxy and apply an adequate amount onto the hard-to-reach areas. Gloves are important because this epoxy may take several days to wear off otherwise. Inspect the patch to be sure the epoxy was applied evenly all the way around the joint. Wait 8 to 10 minutes and apply another layer. In cold weather, you might need a heat gun or a blow dryer to speed along the process. As you can see, the applications are not perfectly smooth. That's okay. Just be sure there are no air bubbles in the epoxy layers. Wait at least 30 minutes for the epoxy to harden. If possible, you can have a helper force water from the front side of the spa. Watch your new patch from the back and ensure the leak has stopped. Sorry, but the person with the hose is going to get a little bit wet. If the leak was where the hose glues into the back of the jet housing, we'd like to put a bead of silicone around the face of the jet. RTV silicone is best. Use your finger to smooth the silicone. When you're satisfied the leak has been repaired, replace the black plastic sheet and, using your team of helpers, carefully set the spa down again. We like to wrap the power wires with electrical tape so they can be pushed or pulled into the equipment area. Repairing a spa leak can be a fun project for do-it-yourselfers or agony for the rest of us. Either way, you can save hundreds of dollars or more doing the work yourself. Pat yourself on the back for a job well done and go back to enjoying your relaxing hot tub again.